You're listening to the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. Around the Huddle, college sports beyond the game.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. So happy to have all of you with us today. College sports in the midst of spring and winter crossover season. Always a busy time of the year. Basketball season winding down. March Madness is here. Baseball, softball, lacrosse, all those spring sports getting started up. The other winter sports also winding down. It's really a busy year in the world of college athletics, which is why I'm super grateful for our guest today, because he's a busy guy this time of the year. We'll get to him in a second. But first, a reminder that we are powered by PAC-Hub. Take a look, bottom of your screen. PAC-Hub, connecting athletes with opportunities. PAC-Hub is a revolutionary product that basically runs tangentially to the NCAA transfer portal. If you're an athlete and you're at a school and you're not satisfied at that school, you want to move on and you want to transfer, you enter the NCAA portal. But then what happens? How do you get noticed by coaches? That's where PAC-Hub comes into play. In the NCAA portal, all that's in there is your name and your NCAA ID. But when you enter the PAC-Hub portal, you enter something that also populates your statistics, GPA, academic information, measurables, all sorts of specifications that allow coaches to search for you. That's available in PAC-Hub. And from the coach's perspective, same thing. You can go in there and specify, hey, I'm looking for a right-handed pitcher. Hey, I'm looking for this type of player, this graduation year, whatever it might be. You can search in PAC-Hub. It's a great way to connect with athletes. Again, PAC-HUB.com. That is www.pac-hub.com. In this ever-changing landscape of college athletics, PAC-Hub is the place to go to really take advantage of some of the new opportunities that have popped up in recent years. All right, today's guest is somebody who I've had the good fortune of knowing for a couple of years now. He also works in a role that, in my opinion, is the most underappreciated role in all of college athletics. Our guest today is Tom Perpetua. He is the Associate Director of Athletic Communications at the University of Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns, one of my favorite nicknames in college sports. Tom is a lifelong sports fan. He's a huge baseball and college basketball fan. He started at the University of Texas Permian Basin, a Division II school out of Odessa, Texas, where he covered 16 sports before moving to Louisiana. He is now the point of contact for the men's basketball, track and field, tennis, and soccer teams for the Ragin' Cajuns. So without further ado, let's welcome in today's guest, Tom Perpetua. Tom, thanks for hopping on today.
Thanks for having me, John.
Look, like I said before, I think that you and your fellow sports information directors, SIDs, as we call them in the industry, are the most underappreciated people in this field. I know intimately what you all do because I work with SIDs on a day-to-day basis, but I'd say that 95% of the general public, including diehard sports fans, have no idea what an SID does and how important you all are. So let's start right there, Tom. SIDs, what do you all do?
Wear every single hat imaginable. Pretty much, it ends up being a position of just, hey, if somebody's got to do it, you end up doing it. But for the most part, SIDs are your communications people and your official record keepers of different sport programs. So like here at Louisiana, I'm in charge of the men's basketball team, track and field, men's and women's tennis, and the women's soccer program. I run their social media. I do, the official record books, stat keeping, things of that nature, as well as, being the media contact. So if somebody wants to hit me, talk to one of our basketball players that's having a good stretch, they go through me, or they want to talk to coach. They ask me first, hey, can you set up an interview? And then we work from there. But a lot of it's, publicizing, student athletes. Some schools, like smaller schools, you'll have a lot more hats. Like when I was out in Texas, I was also in charge of, game day operations, the live stream, working with everybody, and pretty much everything that was communications, a lot of marketing. Here, it's not so much because everybody's a little bit more specialized in that role. But pretty much, yeah, at SIDs, I used to joke my job description for the day was just duties as assigned. When people would ask me, well, what I do? Just whatever needs to get done that day, I'm the person that ends up just doing it. If I got to operate a camera for the live stream, hey, I'll do that. If I got to input the stats, I'll do that. If I got to be the PA announcer, I'll do that. And then there have been times where, I've also helped to set up, end of the season dinners for the student athletes. And you're like, oh, let me run some music. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me be the photographer. And you just end up doing, 45 different things all at the same time. But you got to love it.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Again, truly the unsung heroes in college athletics. And the reason why I want to bring you on today, in addition to speaking about your role, I think that SIDs are almost like a secret weapon in the NIL branding discussion. Because like you said, you all are the publicists. You are the voice of your school, and you're sending these stories out to the news, to broadcasters, all of those things. So we're going to dive into the nitty-gritty of all of that. But I'd love to know, and on this show, we talk about the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. With all of these changes in college sports, how has your job changed over the last couple of years?
I think the biggest change that happened in my job happened just before I got here, and that's a lot of social media aspects of it. In the past, there's a lot of the older SIDs, when they got into the game, it was, here's a preview. I'm going to do the stats and keep the record books. I'm going to write the recap, and I'm going to be the media contact. Not so much now you have to run social media and be a content creator on top of all that stuff. A lot of the content is generated free, but there are times, if a team is performing poorly or having a bit of a rough stretch, you got to be out there. You got to be creative to try to, promote your brand on social media and try to get fans at the game. Because at the end of the day, if you're not getting butts in seats, kids aren't going to want to come to your school. They're not going to want to play in front of an empty arena. And, and obviously that has a major impact towards, NIL opportunities for the student athletes.
Yeah, you mentioned social media. I mean, I think back just a couple of years ago, I remember some schools would have some hesitancy about even just tagging an athlete in a post. Now, right, if you're not tagging an athlete in a post, it's like, what's going on? I'd imagine that you all are always tagging, the athlete that's the focal point of a graphic or of a picture or a video, right? They're always front and center.
Oh, absolutely. I know I'm a little bad about it on Twitter, but on Instagram, the ability to collab with student athletes is, I think, opened up a whole new avenue, at least for a marketing perspective. Just this week, we celebrated our track and field indoor championships, and our men's program ended up winning the conference championship. But along the way, we had 5 event winners and 3 girls set a school record. So when I do my graphic on social media, I go to Instagram and I post it. I collab with them, and I collab with the main account for the school. And all of a sudden now we're posting it in 3 different places. And I was looking at analytics the other day. We were approaching 450,000 people that had seen our posts in the last 2 weeks, and something about 85% of them are not people that follow us. It's because, hey, this student athlete performed really well. I can tag them, collaborate with them. It populates on their page. So, I'll get, 100 likes on a post where it's just, hey, here's some photos of a meet, versus tagging a specific person and posting about them. You'll get upwards of 500 likes on those types of posts. So and then you'll get the trickle effect of, now you're bringing in new eyeballs. They're going to start following your accounts, especially if that kid continues to produce and you're tagging them all the time. And yeah, I think that to me, that's the biggest help to some of the departments. It's especially smaller ones, I'm sure, because when I was in Texas, I was a one-man shop, pretty much running 16 sports with some student workers, and collabing is just the easiest way. Just post in multiple places and get as many eyeballs on what you want to be seen.
And I think that leads into NIL discussion, right? The branding discussion. That's where all of that comes in. You are promoting an athlete, you're promoting a team, and you're not directly saying, hey, get this person a brand deal or whatever. But the more popular that they get, the more success they have, the more people see them on social media, the more opportunities they may have. So how does that all factor in now? Again, that's one of the relatively new aspects of college athletics. How does the NIL side of things and brand development for athletes factor into your job?
Yeah, I think the biggest part is, for us, honestly, is trying to, sometimes get kids just photos in general that they want to to promote themselves. That's one thing that's changed the last couple of years is, I get hit up a lot more often by student athletes just being like, hey, where are the photos from that game from a week ago? And so that, they want to post them, and that also is helping promote our brand as well. So it's kind of a little bit of back and forth there. I'm not super up to date on like the exact words about like what they're able to use in NIL deals. But like one thing I always tell the kids is, beginning of the year, always try to do a real quick sit down and just some things that go through your head. And something I learned in journalism school was don't post anything on social media that you don't want on the front page of the newspaper. And, I tell these guys nowadays, because, don't post anything you don't want your little sister or your grandma finding out. Don't. The biggest thing that you can do to hurt your brand is to just, hurt it yourself. Posting obscene song lyrics or, posting via, just going out on social media after a tough game and, complaining about officials, complaining about teammates, complaining about your coaches. Companies don't want, negativity. And to me, the biggest thing is, also trying to, you also got to educate the kids on just being good on social media. What are good social media practices so that you don't hurt your own chances? Even, the littlest things, you never know what a brand might not like on social media. And then just saying like, what, I no longer want to be associated with you. And they go, they'll get another player, or they're just going to stop, supporting the program.
I think one of the
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
The other aspects of your job that could lead to player promotion, branding, all of that stuff is your work with broadcast teams. I can say on a personal basis as a play-by-play broadcaster, whenever I email an SID, and I email every single SID for every game that I do, the two teams that are playing, I will include 3 questions. 1, pronunciation guide / roster. 2, coach call. And number 3, do you have any stories on the student athletes or the team that may not show up in the game notes? That's where I get all of the really good, juicy stories that really make fans, draw closer to these athletes. So what goes into that? When you're working with the broadcast team, what goes into relaying all of that information to them?
It's different depending on where you're at, because for like our home broadcast, we have the same radio guy who does about 90% of our basketball games. It just depends on kind of like some other conflicts. He may miss a game or two here and there, but again, he'll do 90% of the games. And we have the same guy who does our TV broadcast, and they're in the office every day, and I can talk to them, face to face. But again, but if say you're covering one of our games and we're on the road, it's important to get those stories out there. And, like I've done a little bit just in my game notes of, you got to reorder them to, what's the most important things need to go on the front page, and just kind of order it that way. And then, but I found the best place, honestly, to get sources or get stories from is talking to student managers, because they kind of know the student athletes on a little bit more of a personal level, because I think they see them more as a peer as opposed to, coach. Like all the guys are cool with me, but they may see me as, as an adult who, works for the university, as opposed to, the student manager who I've got just as equally a good relationship with. I talk to those guys to, to find some of the really like interesting stories before, approaching guys. Cause a lot of student athletes, they want to talk, but they don't know how to talk.
Right.
They're really hard to get stories out of, you'll ask somebody, what are your hobbies outside of the game? And they'll kind of sit there and be like, I read, I play video games. I like to watch, movies. And then, 2 months later, you'll be talking to somebody, one of the student managers, and just about something stupid. And then, those are the guys that you find out like, oh, like he plays guitar. And it's like, why didn't I know that before? Like you're actually like proficient in playing guitar, or you can speak 3 languages. It's like, why didn't you tell me like that? Like, to me, that's what I would consider, the interesting facts that just people forget to put on those things. But really, it's just, you really got to get in with the kids, get in with, everybody on the staff, and really work to draw some of that stuff out of the guys sometimes. And the girls, but it's a battle, but be paying attention to the kids and just listening to them when they speak about the different things, just kind of keeping an open mind of, hey, like, I didn't know that you're, I found out a couple weeks ago from an interview with with one of our local newspaper guys. Was like, just before the Super Bowl, one of our players is just a big Eagles fan, but he wasn't from Philadelphia. And, so I talked to him about just the Super Bowl coming up and things of that nature. But it's, again, I never knew that, because it's just something that these kids, sometimes they just don't want to talk to you about.
That's interesting. And just going back to the guitar hypothetical, or maybe it's a real example, I'm not sure, that you mentioned earlier. I mean, I'm thinking now from an NIL perspective, okay, that story gets told, and then boom, a local guitar shop says, hey, we want, Samantha Smith or Joe Stevens to be an NIL, representative for our company. I feel like that's how a lot of these deals could come to be nowadays. So you mentioned sometimes the athletes are a little bit apprehensive to speak with you and kind of share their stories, even if they may have some stories. So what advice would you have for any student athletes out there who are watching, or future college athletes or parents of athletes, in terms of developing those relationships with SIDs so those stories can be told?
That's a really, really good one. I think just over communicating with stuff like that. Hey, if I'm asking you like, hey, like, what are your hobbies? Tell me, like, how did your high school career go? I'm trying to learn that so I could get that story told, to everybody else. And, sometimes I need you to overshare a little bit, and just trust in us. We're not here. Typically an SID's job really, most media is going to be good people, but it's a safeguard to prevent people from either trying to be go after the kids maliciously with some of these stories, which does happen from time to time. But in reality, my job is to tell your story. When I have the local TV stations being like, hey, I want to talk to a track student athlete, hey, what are some good stories? Then I can go, hey, this person's a walk-on, they're having a great year. They've earned a scholarship. When I first got out here a couple years ago, we had a javelin thrower on the track team that had never thrown javelin in her life before going to college. And she ended her career as a 2-time All-American. And won, I think, 2 conference championships before she transferred out of here to a bigger Power 5 school. And she also dealt with a Tommy John surgery and then came back to win a conference championship, was an All-American. And it's just like, you got to, tell those stories that sometimes I just, you don't get when, just talking to a coach. Because a lot of times some coaches will just be like, hey, we signed this student athlete. Can we, publicize it? Here's some raw numbers. But, me, I don't know that part of the story that goes along with it of, hey, they just picked up, the game of basketball a year ago.
Right.
It's not just what, like, some of these questions too are not just stuff like off the top of my head. I'm not going to go up to you and typically be like, how long have you been a pitcher in baseball? Like, you could tell me that you picked up a ball 2 weeks ago through one bullpen session and, all of a sudden was like, oh, you're lighting up the radar gun. Those types of stories are hard to find. And I think just, as a student athlete, be proud of being, you might think it, but just be proud of being a little bit weird. That's what makes everybody unique, but everybody wants to know that part of the story. What makes you different and what makes, TV either locally, regionally, nationally, why should we be interested in you? And, some of the kids, they don't like the attention, and I totally understand that. But like I tell my basketball guys that like to complain to me that I keep picking them to do post-game interviews, they want to talk to the, student athletes that are doing well. Nobody, unfortunately, nobody wants to talk to the kid on the bench. And if you're doing well, people are going to want to know your story.
Right. And again, as a broadcaster, I can say this firsthand. We want to tell those stories as well. Like, that's when I do a broadcast, I always try to get 1 or 2 like really cool, unique stories. And those are the moments that afterwards, when I'm talking to family or friends who tuned in, or the producer, those are the moments in the broadcast that stick. Not the fact that, oh, this person's a 45% 3-point shooter. No, they want to know that this person developed some tool that helps people who build cars limit their back pain. That's an actual story that I told for a Clemson volleyball broadcast. Like, those are the cool moments that really stick with people. So I guess moral of the story, go speak to your SIDs, student athletes. They're there to help you. Like Tom said, they're also there to protect you. They're not going to, throw you under the bus or anything. Their job is to do the opposite, to make you look really good, to tell your story, and to get your name out there, right?
Exactly. Like that. We're here to promote you, promote the program. And we want to see everybody succeed. We're all a team. I may never coach a game. I may have never played a game beyond 10th grade, but we're all a team and fighting for the same thing, and that's winning championships. And if I can do that by helping promote people because gets the name out, so be it.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
As you mentioned earlier, you now work with multiple sports, men's basketball, track and field, tennis, and soccer. And at UT Permian Basin, you were with 16 teams, which I know that's more of the norm at the D2 level. But how does it differ? What are maybe some of the similarities between what you do to promote men's basketball versus what you do to promote some of the non-revenue Olympic sports?
I try to take the same approach with all of my teams of at least in game, I'm going to promote you the same way I would across the board. I see tennis, for example, I think is a sport where a lot of people just kind of shrug off. And, to be blunt, the numbers, when you look at them, our tennis posts typically don't draw as much traffic as, a men's basketball post or a football post. And that's going to be pretty much true across the board. But, during a match, I'm going to post as much as possible about you guys because to me, there's no reason not to at that point. There is some challenges to that kind of stuff again, because it's much easier to, go on the website and just, I could post a football helmet from the football account and just be like coming soon and that'll do numbers, that's all you got to do for some sport accounts. And that's just how it works. But it's a challenge. And I also know that there's challenge in the NIL world for those kids too, because of the different rules. And if you're a U.S. citizen, it's different, like what you're allowed to claim for NIL money versus being a foreign student. And like I know there's some stuff between like passive income you're allowed to take in, like we're allowed to sell jerseys and merchandise for a student athlete who may be a foreign student athlete, but like they can't go promote something at a local restaurant because they're it just not the rules say they can't. But back to your original question about like the non-revenue sports, the Olympic sports. Yeah, it is a struggle because I think mostly just you're just trying to get eyeballs on a lot of these programs, a lot of these kids, and I keep pitching stuff as much as possible to some of our local TV people. Just hey, like we've got a men's tennis player who's having a really good year playing the best he's probably played in his college career as a fifth-year senior. But he also won a distinguished award from our School of Business last year for being a really smart student athlete. He's like a 3.8 GPA and towards the top of his class at the business school. So like to me, that's the story alongside just trying to promote them regularly and just get people out at their matches.
From my experience as well, I feel like those sports appreciate it even more so when you give them the coverage and give them the attention. Like when I think back at my favorite coach calls that I've ever had, or my favorite interactions with athletes that I've had, a lot of them are from those non-revenue sports. And a lot of times they'll say, hey, thank you for speaking to us and giving us a platform and a voice. Because like you said, that isn't always the case. People aren't always tuned into those sports, but it is cool that you get to kind of work with multiple different sports across the gamut of men's basketball versus, track and field. And like you just said earlier, your track and field program had a historic season, right?
Yes. Our men's indoor team upset Arkansas State, who had won 5 consecutive indoor titles on the men's and women's side. They also did lose on the women's side, but our men's team won for the first time since 1996. That was a huge accomplishment. Talking about sports that feel like, they deserve a little bit more love. One of the things I remember talking to when I came to Louisiana for an interview, talking to that coaching staff was they just felt that, sometimes in the pecking order, they just kind of fell down a little bit, even when they had a good meet. And so I said, you know what, like, as long as you guys are competing and I'm not, super, super busy. Like I'll admit, like sometimes, earlier this year we had a weekend where they were competing and I also had men's basketball game to cover and a women's basketball game to help input with stats. Oh, and men's tennis is also going on the road. So sometimes, you can't give them 100% of your attention, but, I gave as much attention to them as possible over the weekend. And we, blew out of the water, our analytical numbers. And when I texted coach, like, congratulations, and his words were, thanks for everything, Tom. And to me, like that wasn't just a, like if he just said like, thanks, Tom, like that would have been to me like cookie cutter. Like I knew that, Coach Badon, who's been here since I think like the early 80s, if I remember correctly. He was a student athlete here. He worked in the sports information department as an undergrad. And then he's been an assistant coach here 3 times and finally got the head gig right after I got out here. I couldn't have been happier for him and that team. I know how much just working alongside him, I was so happy for him. And that makes sometimes, it makes the winning more special. Like when you actually do get to know student athletes and coaching staffs, it's one thing to be a fan of them. It's one thing to say like, oh, I love the Raging Cajuns, I love Louisiana, but like I'm a fan of specific student athletes and coaches, and you want to win. You want them to win that just that much more, and it makes everything feel way, way, way more special when big things do happen.
Absolutely. You develop that personal relationship, that personal affinity for them. And I'll just say to everyone out there, go watch some of those non-revenue sports, those Olympic sports. The athletes are so hardworking, so talented. They pour so many hours into it. The coaches do, of course, as well. And there are a lot of fantastic stories to be told in those sports. In addition to, basketball and football, it's not just about those two. There's a lot more to college athletics. So definitely go check those out. All right, Tom, as we begin to wind down, we've been speaking a lot about branding and how you work to promote student athletes. Let's say there's a student athlete out there who's watching right now. What would your advice be to them on how they can better brand themselves?
How to better brand yourselves. That's a really good one. Again, I think just being authentic goes a long way when it comes to just being in an interview. Don't turn down interviews from like local newspapers or post game, because you do get some student athletes. Hey, it's a tough game. I don't want to talk to the local newspaper guy. I don't want to talk about tonight's loss. And SIDs will typically do a very good job of also protecting the right guys. But I think just being out there, being active on social media can help at least be like show potential NIL. I don't know what you want to call them, investors. I don't know what the correct terminology is. People interested in giving you NIL money. They're paying for your name, image, and likeness. So, being everything that goes along with it. But also when you do go to college, being in contact with your SID. Something that drives me nuts is with the number of podcasts and like other shows that are out there now, is just if everybody feels like they have unfiltered access to student athletes, they don't. And as an SID, again, like I'm never going to say no, but just if somebody approaches you, no matter what it is, even if it's your best friend since high school that runs a basketball podcast and starting something up, hey, make sure that you at least like shoot your SID a text or an email. Tell the coach to tell him, like, if you don't have it, or her, that, hey, like, I'm going to, can I do this? Or like, do you have a problem with it? Or I'm going to do this. I just wanted to let you know. And then this way also, you don't get put in a bad position, because there are some things that are bad. And, I had a story one time when I was at UTPB, right around when everything first started coming out about NIL. And I don't remember the exact rule, but I had a student athlete that did a story with a local TV reporter that they set up without my knowledge. And it had nothing to do with basketball. It was about him trying to start a clothing line. And somebody sent it to me, and I just kind of was like, just asked him about it. And then I, got talking to compliance, and they looked into it for being a potential violation because of just, how much like were you talking about basketball and the university versus your clothing line? So like you got to be very careful and cognizant of stuff like that. Sports information departments, communications departments, and compliance departments, they're there to protect you. They're there as a student athlete to protect you and educate you, and doing what you need to be doing in order to maximize your potential.
Wise words of advice. If you're a student athlete, I recommend favoriting this video, like this video, download this video, and repeat everything that Tom has said over this episode, because I've learned a lot, and I'm not even a student athlete. So a lot to take from this episode. Tom, truly a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks for hopping on today, and thanks for all that you do as an SID.
Thanks for having me, and go Cajuns.
There we go. Raging Cajuns, one of my favorite nicknames in all of college athletics. All right, today's guest, again, Tom Perpetua. Big thanks to him for joining us today and for all that he does. A reminder, take a look bottom of your screen. PAC-Hub, connecting athletes with opportunities. Truly a revolutionary product that is in the forefront of all of these changes in college athletics. So many changes, but you go to PAC-Hub, you can get noticed through PAC-Hub. You can find that next school. As a coach, you can find that missing piece that will take your team to the championship level. Again, a big thanks to all of you for joining us today. Shout out to our guest, Tom, once again. A big thanks to PAC-Hub, and we will see you all next episode. This has been the Around the Huddle Podcast, college sports beyond the game.